So I just saw one of Technically Mexican's videos. It made me, or like his thumbnails. It made me laugh.
Dude, he's funny. He does a
Here we go.
good job. There are some of his videos that make me die laughing, especially his intros. He does a
Yeah,
really good job with his editing
yeah. He
and
he does those.
with his humor.
His intros are so good, and I'm over here sort of like, we could do that, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna link
Get
to.
better, do better, David.
I know. You got to do better, Senator. I linked Zax's channel in the thing, and I'll put it on Discord too. I'll do the Discord thing later. It's gonna mess up our flow if I do it before that.
No worries at all. No worries at all.
All right.
But
Before we get into it, you have any like housekeeping? Have you seen anything that we're not going to spend a lot of time on this weekend or this past weekend?
no, this
Any
past weekend
extracurricular?
I have not. I'm surprised. We're talking about Shogun, episode 8 tonight, and then we're also going to be talking about Fallout episode 1. But David was a lot braver than me. He finished the entire Fallout series.
Well,
So
I'll give a little
you know,
spoiler.
he's a tryhard.
Well, I'll give a little spoiler ahead of time. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So,
how I felt with the first episode.
and we'll get into the first episode because we're gonna do like a full thing next week of it, which is kind of cool because now I might actually go back and watch it again. I have I have problems with it. I think the show's got some major
Plot conveniences.
plot conveniences is the way to go. Like I would call them like world building problems. Some of it,
Oh yeah,
I'm like, you just kind of have to accept it based on the world's technology and like what they were able to accomplish because this is like alternate Earth, you know. But yeah,
right.
there's some stuff in it that I'm like, huh? Like what? I think it gets
That's what I was thinking in the first episode.
yeah, I think it gets
There's
better as the show goes on, but they do quite a few leaps in logic in order to get the plot sort of underway. But
well, let me
we
ask.
will get to that. But I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it.
but
Um,
this past weekend, yeah, I didn't hate it either. This past weekend, I don't think I did watch anything that interesting. I think I tried to play some Skyrim, and then I started playing it, and I played it for like 15 minutes, and it was kind of like Mortal Engines for me, to where I was like, oh yeah, that's why I never finished this game and got into it. It's just not my cup of tea. It's a good game, right? Good mechanics and stuff like that for what it was back in the day, but it's just not my cup of tea.
yeah,
Um,
that game came out on 11/11/11.
oh yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
that
Good.
is crazy.
That's really good advertising on their part, like marketing,
Yeah,
because you're not going to forget that day. You know, it,
right.
it's been how many years now, and I still remember the day that game came out.
Uh, Apparently forever, because I couldn't remember when it came out. But why did you watch anything interesting this past weekend?
No, I mean, I think I spent most of the weekend watching Fallout, and then I was trying to get other work done, the rest of the time. This past week's been pretty busy, but I did finish Fallout, and I still have like a pretty big list of stuff that I mean, we're already getting into the point of the year like where there's stuff that we're not going to be able to fully cover, but that I still want to go back and like check out.
Yes.
Um,
That's
I
why I want to go.
I have a pretty
That's
big
why this weekend I'm going to go watch Civil War and
yeah.
Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I have a pretty big back catalog. Yes, I definitely want to go see Ungentlemanly Warfare. I'm looking forward to that.
What's on your back catalog? Monkey Man is one.
Monkey Man,
Halo.
dude. Honestly, so EFAP did like a big, like a 6-hour breakdown of the series. I think what I'm gonna do is just put it on like a second screen while I'm playing like Helldivers or something. Um, just so I can finish it. But I also don't think we missed a whole lot after where we left off. Like the only other big event that really happens is that they finally make it to Halo, like to the Halo
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah.
But
I don't even care, dude. I'm just like, put me to sleep.
oh,
If I need to
dude,
go to sleep, I'm
yeah,
gonna put on Halo.
yeah, we didn't. I don't think we missed too much dropping out of that one.
I'm kind of sad that Amazon released all 8 episodes of Fallout.
Yeah,
Because I thought,
that was surprising. I think it was a bad move. I think with Shogun finishing up in the next like 2 weeks, you could have released episode 1 and 2 and then done a weekly release for that. And I think it might have caught people's attention a little bit more because people are in that. I haven't seen very many people who have just like straight up hated it. But I've seen a lot of it's fine to it's good. We saw that if you guys didn't know, IGN gave it a 9, which I think is way too high. I think
that's IGN for you.
as long as Shogun stays on the track that it is, I think Shogun is something that would be closer to a 9.
Step below from the first episode of The Last of Us, because the first episode of The Last of Us, I mean, you get introduced to the characters. There's a bit of a setup there with them getting introduced, and then man, crap hits the fan, and you're hooked, and it's intense right away. Whereas with this one, I don't know, it just kind of.
Well, I think I would disagree with you because of literally the opening segment.
I don't know. It just like
That
for
di-
me,
bruh,
it didn't make any sense the opening segment with. That's the problem that I have.
What?
The setup for episode 1 of Fallout.
Wait, are you talking? No,
didn't
no, no,
really-
no. Are we talking about the before the credits? Or are we talking about once they're in the vault?
Once they're in the vault.
Oh, okay, because no, okay, be clear about that because like that
Yeah,
opening segment is really good.
Yeah, no, the opening
the
segment. I
stuff
really
with
like.
Walter Goggins at the beginning, I was like, that maybe reaches above the rest of the show in a lot of ways. Because I don't think the show continues that high point throughout the rest of the series. Like the rest of the series, I don't think it quite hits that high point. But
that sucks to know.
That opening, yeah, I mean, it stays
We'll see.
pretty like fine across the board. And like I said, I don't hate it. Like I think Walter Goggins is
Do you
really.
think it's kind of like
Huh?
Dune in that regard?
No,
You-
no,
you-
I
are
think
you-
no,
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't. It's even though, like, because I've only ever played Fallout 3 and 4, and it's, like I'm not a massive fan of this source material, which I don't think really matters. But the show doesn't really do a whole lot to really suck me in, you know. There's stuff that I like about it. I like a lot of the weird stuff that goes on in the vault, the kind of the funny politics of the vault. I think, despite some of the stuff where Lucy's trying to leave, like with that, gets Lucy out of the vault, a lot of the stuff that's going on in the vault after she leaves is pretty solid. Like I mean, you obviously haven't gotten that far, and I'm not going to say a whole lot. But there's just a lot of stuff that happens in there that for me is more interesting than what's going on in the major plot points.
Yeah, the main storyline.
Yeah, and there's there's a lot of weird. They're supposed to be pretty naive, like the vault dwellers. So you have to kind of remember that, but there's also people from it. Like you'll see more. Like I think like where you're at right now, you're like, how's this possible? But there is stuff that's going on that does explain some of why it's the way that it is. And to be honest, they don't even get. And I will give the show some credit for this. Like they don't just answer every single one of your questions. Like if you don't know anything about Fallout, you're
Which is
not.
me.
Right, they're going to drip feed you some things, and there's some clues to what like the bigger, I would call like the bigger mystery of what's going on with Vault 33. And I don't know, did they talk about the other two connecting vaults in the first episode? I just don't remember. It's not a major spoiler.
Vault 32, and then
So
is there
they're-
Vault.
31, 32, and 33, they're all connected to each other. So
I think they may have mentioned
Okay.
31 too.
there's the idea behind their segment of vaults is that they're supposed to be it's just like a collective, and so each group is separate from each other, so they have their own like farming. I think I think they have their own water systems, but what they do is essentially do like marriage pacts, like you see in the first episode,
Yes.
to the other vaults in order to basically not have like mutant babies, have like too
Yeah.
much, but essentially not to have too much inbreeding because they've been down there for so long. So people go to the different vaults, and then like you find some things out. And so I do really want to watch it again because I want to kind of nail down a solid like, okay, should people have been more aware of certain things that were going on, that they weren't aware of?
Right.
Like, is there a massive leap in logic, or is it explained well enough where you're like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not as bad as I originally thought? So like
I
that'll
guess I just didn't really understand in the first episode, like why the Raiders didn't just immediately attack, and then it seemed
yeah.
if the overseer of Vault 33
Um,
seemed like he knew the lead Raider
I think that yeah,
after
yeah, I'm not
everything.
going to go into that because there's a lot of that would be getting into like major spoiler territory
Yeah,
for the show.
I guess I just don't understand. Like as soon as they opened the vault, why they didn't just immediately attack?
I think it was
Uh,
to get their guard down because like they did have weapons, right? So the idea was that's where
did the members of Vault 33 have weapons?
yeah.
I know that
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Raiders
there's like a
did, but
whole yeah, you must have missed that part then because they have like machine guns.
uh, I mean, I knew the Raiders did from
Yeah, they
pretending
stole
to be the Vault 32.
yeah, the Raiders stole them from the vault.
Okay.
They didn't come in with them. So Lucy at the like almost at
Oh,
the
gotcha.
intro to her
Okay.
thing, she talks about how she's taken shooting classes and there's this like tongue-in-cheek thing where she's like I'm not
Yes.
very good at it
Yep.
and she's like in the bullseye completely. Um I'll say one thing, and just as a side note, one of the things that is really annoying about this series, um, they and people will try to argue that it's like it's Fallout. There's not that many guns around, but there is a distinct lack of firearms, or people who should end up dead in a lot of scenarios that don't for plot
Gotcha.
convenience, and a lot of it is in those first two episodes, maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
It,
like at the end of the first episode when she's like, "Okay, it's either them or your daughter," and he chooses the daughter, and then she just
yeah, it was weird.
sets the bomb and let them
They just kind
run
of
away.
yeah, I don't really and again, it's like a lot of that is like weird plot stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy it happens because a lot of those characters are kind of fun to see. You get to see a lot more of the interactions with the vault dwellers post all of this happening. So I'm glad they did that and they didn't just wipe out everybody in the vault. Because it would have been like I hate when shows kind of introduce tons of interesting characters in the first episode or characters that have the potential to be really interesting, and then they're just like, oh no, that no, we're not spending any more time with them. Like we're gonna leave this and move on to the other thing that we're doing. So I appreciate the show for at minimum having some restraint with that, and that one of the side stories in this is actually about the vault dwellers after all of that stuff happens. Because like her brother is like kind of an interesting character. The and there's it's a little late now. I guess we've got some spoilers for the first episode, but I feel like if you haven't seen the first episode by now, you probably aren't interested in the show that much. So it's not, you know,
That big a deal.
but the
But
lady,
spoilers.
yeah, the lady who
First
gets
episode.
the lady who gets stabbed with a fork, the blonde lady,
Yeah.
in the eye, like she's she's kind of funny. So the show's got some decent humor. It obviously has problems. I mean, like it's hard to overlook them. I won't go too much into it because there's stuff that you haven't seen yet, and I didn't want to do like a massive spoiler breakdown. But there's just a few things in it where it's like, guys, like this just feels like the skipping over any sort of like logic, I guess, to get to the next point. There's some stuff early on in it that's like, come on, like this feels amateur the way that they were handling some of it.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that just bugged me. And it's funny because I've seen people kind of like some of the action's not great. Some of the stuff towards the end of like I think the second half is all right. And like I said, I like Walter Goggins in it. I think he does a good job with the material that he's given. And again, I'm going off of this as like not being a massive Fallout fan. Like it's like if you're super into Fallout, like this probably just isn't for you anyway. If you're gonna like be upset about certain details, like I just don't have the information. So it's like we talk about a lot. When we talk about Lord of the Rings, for instance, Joseph knows a ton about that. So he's going to add that as a context in, but like that context, it makes it worse, but the show still sucks. Like
Yeah.
Rings of Power still sucks regardless of the source material. Like it's not good.
Right.
And so we typically try to go from some objectivity in that, because like, dude, it's just impossible to have that kind of head knowledge about like every single massive franchise out there, or like every
really
fandom, it would be
It's
ridiculous.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And nor should we come at it from, there's other people who can come at it from that perspective. Whereas for us with Halo, I didn't have a massive understanding as far as, I wasn't a lore expert, didn't read any books.
The show still sucks.
Didn't even play. The show still sucks.
Yeah.
Definitely. I didn't even really play the video games that much. I had friends and I watched, others play it and stuff like that. And the same thing with Fallout. Like I know of the setting of Fallout. I know what it's about, but I never cared to play the games.
Yeah.
And I have no understanding, no idea what's going on outside of, hey, it's an apocalyptic setting.
Yeah.
And
that's
I think the introduction is good. If they would have done it on a weekly basis release, then it would have brought me back next week to watch it, even if without the show, mind you. And so I think it's fine. It's a bit of a step below episode 1 of The Last of Us for me. It's many steps above Rings of Power episode 1.
that ain't hard. Yeah, I can.
No, it's not.
Well,
and many
it's like,
steps above Halo is episode 1 too as well.
For me, like, and it's not. It's not like it's kind of comparing apples and oranges with The Last of Us, because they're very different.
It really is.
One of them has a bit more of a satirical, tongue-in-cheek sense of humor, where the other one is like dead serious. They just both happen to take place in apocalypse type settings.
Yeah. I think the first episode would have been better if they would have cut. What was his name? Who's the guy?
Oh,
that plays
Maximus.
the soldier.
Maximus. Yeah.
Yeah.
His stuff.
I didn't really. So far in episode 1, I don't really care for his storyline. I don't really care for him as a character because he has this friend, right?
Yeah. His very androgynous friend.
Androgynous. Yeah. That was really apparent the first time his friend was introduced. But he makes that comment when she gets whatchamacallit, her foot gets sliced up.
Yeah.
And they're interviewing him. Was it you, right? And he says, no, but is it bad if I wanted it to be me? I'm like, yes, it is. And now I don't like you.
You're probably not going to like him through most of the season.
I kind of wish they would have just cut him out and just did more with Lucy. So I really enjoyed Lucy, and then I really enjoyed the Ghoul as well.
They're definitely stronger characters and storylines in it. Maximus, also, hello, Zax. It's good to see you.
Hey, Zax.
Maximus, yeah, I think for the most part he falls flat for me. I kind of need. That's why I said, like, I think with a second watching, maybe I would change my mind a little bit. But he's really he's kind of a frustrating character. I don't think he's written great early on in the show. And there's a lot of stuff that they sort of like do with his character later that is sort of weird, like just comments that he makes. Like they do certain things with him for like a comedy perspective, though. That they do it for like comedic sake, and I'm kind of like, why wasn't that implemented early on? Like sort of him being really he's like really naive, but they don't make that super apparent early on.
Okay.
Because he the way that he's kind of characterized is that like he's seen a lot. He joined the Brotherhood in order to sort of get revenge, and that's like his motive, right? And so
Right.
there's some things and some conversations he has with Lucy later on where you're like, you're kind of dumb, and it doesn't quite come out like that until I think it's like episode 6 or 7, which is right at the I mean that's the tail end of the season, and he kind of his whole like his character like borderline just changes, and there I think some of the like the logic in it, so there's like a specific like moment with him and Lucy later on, where you're kind of like, yeah, like I guess that's fine. She's really naive. She's supposed to be the naive character. And I wish that they had pushed into that a little bit more, where she just doesn't understand anything. You remember, I bring this up a lot, but the first Thor movie always comes to mind for me as like a pretty good fish out of water scenario.
Yes.
Where he has no understanding of the culture around him, and it's kind of the reaction of everyone else around him to this individual. And I wish they had played into that a little bit more. They're a little too like straightforward with how the people on the surface treat her as a vault dweller, because they're like aware of the vault dwellers to some sort of extent, and instead of it being kind of like there was a lot of room for humor with that, and they kind of don't go that route. Like I said, I think it's all right. There's stuff that I like in it. Like I am interested in the second season. I hope that that this potentially launches them into something a little bit better. But this won't make any sort of like top 3 list for me at the end of the year. I think there's good stuff to talk about. Sorry, but I just think it ultimately kind of 5 or a 6 maybe like for the season is probably where I'm at.
And listen, there's a lot of shows that ended up being really good that didn't have that amazing of a first
Their
season.
first strong, yeah, you're right.
Parks and Rec, for example, that first season. Oh man, that's
it's tough.
it's tough
it
to get through.
I think I always appreciated it more once I finished Parks and Rec, because it's more of like, oh, you get to it's from like some of the character stuff that they're doing with like Andy and some other people in that first season. But you're right, it's a little rough. It's a good thing it was only like 8 episodes, maybe even less than that.
And then even The Office season 1, it was fine.
It's definitely
it picks
better.
up in season 2, and season 3 tremendously. And so I think with this one, with Fallout so far in episode 1, I thought it was fine. I would have put it around I think 6.
Yeah.
Is a good place to put it. 6 to 6.5. But I enjoy the setting. I enjoyed the acting in it. I enjoyed the costumes, the set design.
Yeah, they did a
production.
They did a pretty good job. I don't know if I would call it great, but they did a pretty good job of having stuff be worn in. It definitely has a bit of a TV show vibe to it.
Yes, it does.
Where it's still some scenes, man, it's like it looks a little too clean. They don't do one of the things that I think that the games, in particular 1, 2, and 3, do well is that like you really understand. Oh, and I would say New Vegas too, but like you understand throughout those that like this is a pretty dirty world. People are scavenging because there's not a lot left. People have to drink like irradiated water because a lot of the time you can't find the pure stuff. Like it's really
difficult to find clean water.
Yeah, Zach's is saying there's nothing wrong with a 5 to 6 rating for a first season. That's average to above average. Some people's rating scales are out of control. See, Zach's gets it. And he's
Then he
like,
says, "I'm looking at you,
yeah.
lofty pixels."
And that's you know, I say this a lot, but like 5 for me is average because
Yes.
I want to use that whole scale. I don't want to use 7, 8, 9, and 10 for like everything. Like something that I dislike isn't a 7, you know.
Yeah.
Something that I think is
Looking
like
at you, IGN.
yeah, something that I think is or like yeah, or you know, it's like there's stuff I like, there's stuff I dislike. You're gonna fall into that 5 range. It's sort of like what were we talking about? I can't
Last week we were
remember.
talking about Hello Future Me when he released that 4-hour video
Oh
on the
no.
Rings of Power, and he was saying it was all right. That was just boring, and I'd heard his reviews
Yeah.
after the Rings of Power and stuff too. He just did a more thorough breakdown, well, supposedly thorough. And it's like I got more than halfway through,
Allegedly.
and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, dude, you hated this a lot more than what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
telling your audience. Which is fine. Sometimes, it's hard for us to. Sometimes you and I even talk and things, as we talk about them. Like I remember with you, I really really enjoyed All Quiet on the Western Front,
Yeah,
and
you
as I was talking about it with you, it was rising for you. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, you pulled me further along with that one I think than I kind of originally thought.
And I
And
think
that happens for sure.
it does happen. I think as he was explaining his viewpoint, he never got to a point. At least, I made it a bit more than halfway through to where he said, "Oh, actually, I dislike this a lot more than what I'm saying." He never said anything like that. But I mean, he was just reaming the show over and over again. So in that same vein, I think,
Yeah, like at some point you got to look at it and be like, dude, you probably think this is about a 3 out of 10.
yeah.
You know, like
And so
if we're
using
gonna
that
use the
whole
scale.
scale is important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's like because I forgot it was Kong versus Godzilla that we talked. See, I already put it out of my
Oh
mind. I'd
yeah.
already forgotten about it. But like that falls. People are like, yeah, all I want is like a dumb movie where a lizard and a gorilla fight other big animals or whatever. And I'm like, I totally understand that. I could see you coming out of that with a 5, maybe even some people a 6. I think anyone who gave it more than I think it's insane that anyone would give that above a 6. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you've lost me at that point. I'm like, I can't see it. And
I
for
can't
me,
trust your reviews after
yeah,
that.
it's just kind of like, okay, that seems high. That does seem like you're getting into like territory of stuff that's actually good, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, that movie probably fell more on the side of a 4 because it's like I could see where people kind of are like, yeah, it was all right, like it wasn't anything special, it's pretty stupid. But like for me, I'm like, I can't overlook like all of the stuff in it that's just like all of this is not very good. Like
Yeah.
and again, part of that comes back to at this point we've seen this how many times? Like this isn't anything new. Like there's nothing here that's doing anything that makes me go like, dang, I should definitely recommend this to people. It's not like Puss in Boots, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Where it's like, wow, like they took something that probably could be pretty tired and they made a really good and interesting story out of this. I mean, and
It's
to
so
be
good.
honest, Godzilla -1 is the same way, where it's like there have been how many Godzilla movies, and then this one comes out, and everyone's like, legitimately, this might be the best one ever made. Like, it's not even the best one since the last best one moment. It's like, no, like this might actually be the peak of where Godzilla has been so far. But yeah,
Can't wait for that. Speaking of which, I cannot wait for that to
I
release so I can
know.
buy it.
I think it's
I'm waiting for the physical copy. Come on.
maybe sometime this summer. I saw it's supposed to be getting I
Unacceptable.
know. It's supposed to be getting a release in Japan pretty soon.
Man, them Japanese people gonna be selling them DVDs for like
Zach,
$100.
Zax was like, "You're also allowed to really like a 5." Yes, I agree. I think we had talked about this with Technically Mexican not too long ago, but it's that 5 range can definitely fall into a lot of guilty pleasures for me. Just movies where you're like, yeah, I just like watching this. Like I know it's not
Yep.
very good, but there's something comforting about it, or there's
I
stuff
say it
that.
all the time. That's what The Hobbit is for me. It's
Mm,
comforting. You hit the nail on the head.
yeah,
It's
I feel that.
those movies are solid 5s, maybe a 6 for the first one.
All right.
Maybe a 6 for the first one.
But you
I
are,
don't
yeah,
mean
yeah. You're allowed to like those 3s, Joseph. That's fine.
There's a specific cut I like that's available for
Uh,
those that are interested.
Heard.
That,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel you. I know.
but I can't
I'm
say
with you.
that without saying all three of the movies because it incorporates.
um, yeah, you know, it's funny. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head now, but there was a movie I ran across recently where I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. But I don't, for some
That's what
reason,
them
I
Hobbit movies are, man.
yeah,
Man, that music starts playing, and it just
yeah,
lulls
yeah,
me back
yeah,
in.
yeah. Just yep, yep. Just manipulates you like that, doesn't it?
It does. All the member berries.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh,
You heard that
Demolition
music
Man.
start playing, and I instantly transport back to me being a kid watching the movie with my parents and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and my sisters and everything.
I feel that.
Um, and it's just also going back into Tolkien's world, and I think is a good, with what Peter Jackson had available, the fact that he even made a coherent and competent narrative with it, that
Yeah,
definitely has significant flaws. It's just a testament to his talent and skills and hard work, considering how terrible the old executives were at Warner Brothers. But yeah, man, it's just funny enough. I was actually talking about this with my keeper's brother before the podcast about The Hobbit, and just man, it gets me. It gets me, but I get really frustrated with it too because it gets to those bad points. I'm just like, oh, I can't watch this anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Like when Bomber starts, gets in the freaking barrel and starts, rolling around and defeating all the orcs like that.
Oh,
I'm just like,
uh-huh.
oh gosh.
Yeah, it gets a little wacky. I mean, I know it's supposed to be more of a kid. I don't know, man. Like maybe it needed to even go like it needed to be more of a quote unquote kids movie, a little more lighthearted. Um, I don't know. Like, it's tough because like I grew up on that weird animated version, you know,
Oh yeah.
it like had like that '70s art style. So like I guess Tolkien for me has always been a little bit darker. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a fine line with those kinds of movies, and they definitely went.
Deep Blue Sea. Deep
Oh,
Blue Sea
Deep
is
Blue
another one.
Sea. Yes, that used to come on
I
TV
love that.
all the
That's
time.
my favorite shark
Yep.
movie.
Yep. Yeah, Deep Blue Sea's a
And if
really
I
good
remember
one.
correctly, I think that's about a 5 of a movie,
Yeah.
maybe higher.
Yeah. Well, it honestly, dude, it might be like a solid 5 at this point with a lot of the other stuff that's I mean, there's been so much stuff that's way worse than that that's come out. But yeah, man, I mean, and I've enjoyed watching like garbage stuff too. I remember my buddy Kevin and I went to go see this movie. I mean, we must have been in high school at this point. It was called Stay Alive. Had Frankie Muniz in it, and it was about this group of kids who find a video game, and so they start playing this video game, and they die playing the video game, and I guess the game was like haunted or something like that. And so when they would die playing the video game, they die the same way in real life. Um,
Oh yeah.
and it's a really terrible movie, and I don't think I've actually seen it since it was in theater. But at some point, everyone in the theater realized, like, oh, this movie really sucks. Like, this is not good. So we all kind of just like started heckling at the screen, and then like, we're cheering on Frankie Muniz, and like, it just having a good time in the theater or whatever, and that can really like sway things. You know how like we talk a lot about how when some of these quote unquote reviewers go to these special events and they get you know swag bags and food, and sometimes they fly you out to these different places and all this stuff's going on. It's like that is like what I experienced occasionally in the theater with things like that up to like 11, where
Yeah.
it's like you're getting bombarded with all this stuff, but so by the time you leave, you're like, well, I really had a great time, so this movie must be like an 8,
Yeah.
and in reality it's like, no, maybe a 4,
Like Rings
maybe.
of Power. That would
uh,
cracked me up when they released that. There's that guy freaking peeing in the background of that one.
Man, that they'll never live that
Never
down.
change, Amazon. Never
Yeah,
change with that. Please don't.
yeah, yeah.
That's so good.
I mean, it's dude, when season 2 comes out, when they really start pushing for that, whenever that happens, It's going to be interesting to see the difference between season 1 and season 2.
It
Like,
really is.
are we going to get a lot of the same stuff? Are they going to keep deleting reviews off of Amazon, or like stopping people from being able to actually put reviews up for the season? It's We'll see, right? Because I think that it's like a lot of things where once from sort of like it becomes sort of like mainstream accepted to talk about like taboo subjects, like I don't know
Yep.
if you've noticed, but the whole like the normies have discovered the race swapping of characters.
Yes.
It is all I see it all over the place now, where it's like these people are like, wait, why do they keep doing this? And it's been how many years since that's been like. I'm not even
It's been
sure.
forever, man.
It's been a
been
long time
3-4 years.
since it became a
No,
thing.
no, it's been 4 years.
Yeah, because there was little
Or
stuff.
longer for us, at least.
There was little stuff here and there early on where like what's his name in Thor got Idris Elba, that character was race swapped. So like there's it's been around, but I think it was still a little bit different at that time, like people like Idris Elba, like I don't think they're going to complain too much about him being in the movie, but it's gotten to the we're at
Remember when I was pushing him to be James Bond?
Yeah. It's who did they announce someone recently?
Yeah, some white dude. Who knows, dude?
His name
Really got me fired up,
Yeah, I mean James Bond, dude. I'd be fine with
sure
James.
he's a good actor.
Yeah. Is it it's not the guy from The Gentleman, is it? That's not who they went with. Yeah, look it up.
They didn't go for. I know
you know who I'm talking about. He was the guy that was in those Divergent movies. He's good in The Gentleman.
That's what everybody was crying about on YouTube today or yesterday was Alan Richardson.
Oh, Reichman
or whatever it's called.
Weren't they
misogynistic and predictable? But hang on, let me see who the new cast is.
Dude, people were mad at him because he doesn't like Trump.
Aaron
Taylor Johnson, the guy that played Kick-Ass.
Oh,
he was also he was in he played Quicksilver.
I didn't realize it was him
in Avengers.
Nice.
Yeah. I think he'll do all right. I like him in most of the stuff that I've seen him in. So again, James Bond's problem is not the actor playing James Bond necessarily. It's the
just
writing.
that he's misogynistic and
Let us not forget, dude. No Time to Die is absolutely the worst Bond movie that's ever been made. It is.
Yeah.
It's so.
Hang on, I just want to comment on this real fast. I'm sorry. Alan, is his last name
Richmond? I would call him Reichman sometimes, but I think you're right. I think it's
Ritchson.
Richardson.
Him saying that James Bond is misogynistic and predictable is hilarious, considering he's in Reacher.
And he was also in Blue Mountain State.
He was.
He basically played like a huge Yeah. I don't know, man. Like it's dude. Actors are actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's funny though. So that's what everybody was really mad about was
because
him
he
saying
called
that,
James Bond's a misogynist. Okay.
I guess I just saw something from the Yellow Flash that said Alan Richmond goes woke or something like that, and I didn't care to bother to look into it.
Okay, I mean,
it's like I'm not surprised he's in Hollywood.
Yeah, like it's that echo chamber. It's gonna do stuff like that to you.
Yeah,
even
he came out against Trump. I mean, if that's what you said, he came out against Trump.
Yeah. It's some like the grape stuff,
Good for
along
him.
those lines.
Good for him.
I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. I mean, he really should be attacking him for his like economic stuff more. Anyway, while we're at Fallout, let's get back to Fallout.
We're straying into the dark waters, David.
I know.
Anyway, I was looking up though. You are right.
Yeah.
He was in Fast X too. Yeah, I remember that. Oh gosh, that movie was horrible. Yeah, he's been in some stinkers, hasn't he? I saw he was in DC Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, Zach was saying that he's also bipolar. Oh yeah, he was in Richmond was in that Teen Titans show.
Oh, that's interesting. He's bipolar, medicated. Okay,
yeah.
So Yeah.
Who knows,
Good
man? I
call,
mean,
Zach.
he's had, dude, he's come out too and talked about a lot of stuff that happened to him when he was modeling or whatever, and people who took advantage of him, and you know,
Yeah.
it
He claims he's a Christian too and everything as
sure.
well.
I
So.
mean, if people are going, you're not always going to agree with everyone, especially people in Hollywood. Like, I don't know. What I don't remember the idea
I
of
mean,
like
you and I don't agree on
Alan
everything.
Alan Richmond, like, was he supposed to be like this based actor? Was that like,
I think that's
is it
with,
the Christian side of things where he said a lot of stuff and then he goes like, oh yeah, I think this about like Trump, or I think this about James Bond, and now everyone's like, he's woke? Is that,
yeah.
am I like, am I mischaracterizing how that's coming across? Like, because that's
I don't
from
know, dude.
the,
I didn't keep up with it.
yeah, it's just something that's like, golly, all right, like,
I think it's a combination of him talking about the James Bond thing, but the main thing being him coming out and saying that everything he said about Trump, and then claiming to also be a Christian, and you know how
yeah,
how
yeah,
some
yeah,
Christians
yeah.
feel about Trump.
Yeah.
On both sides actually.
Yeah, I got you. He was hawking on Titans. Yeah, Titans was terrible. I've seen all of it, I'm pretty sure, unless they put out a new season recently. But
I mean, we don't
liked.
have a dog in the fight when it comes to all that stuff. So,
No, not necessarily.
but I did find it interesting that on the Fallout's, I didn't realize this, but the actress that plays Lucy, Ella, she also voices
Jinx.
in Arcane.
Yeah, she's been in quite a few things.
And she's a good actress. I enjoyed her. And
she
that's why I said
is.
I wish they would have
Yes.
cut Maximus out and just focus more on her character. Even with I like Walter Goggins' character in this, at least so far in episode 1, but I still would have
He
preferred the
stays-
majority of the time to be Lucy's character.
He stays pretty consistent. They do a lot of backstory with him. He's very interesting. And again, the show's not like brilliant by any means. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
pretty on the nose. There's some other stuff that I was just thinking of with his character where he meets another character, and that character is basically trying to like slam it into your head, like just like constantly being like, hey, get it, do you see what we're doing? And it's like, yeah, dude, like you don't have to be this like unsubtle about it. So that there's stuff like that in it where I'm like, yeah, guys, like people aren't like, they're not stupid. It's clear what you're trying to do. We've been with this character for a little while already. Like we understand, that he's, this man kind of out of time and place or whatever. Like he's literally like a husk, he's of his like former self. Like it's all there. You don't have to constantly just explain it to us like we're 6.
Yeah.
So I've always hated that stuff. It's like, yeah, guys, we get it. So
I think.
yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk about it once you finish it. I may go ahead and because now I've got some extra time. I may just like slowly. It's only 8 episodes. I may slowly go through it over the next week.
Yeah, man, they should. I think when we mentioned it, you mentioned it earlier, or we were talking about they should have just done a weekly episodic release. And had they done that, I mean, you only have 2 more weeks of Shogun, right? And then it would finish up right before House of the Dragon. So, I mean, I feel like if they would have done this one episode, even if they would have if they did the first 2, there would have been enough hype there to where it gotten people coming back.
Yeah, I think so.
But I just don't understand. I think this binge model of dumping everything just isn't smart.
Neither do I.
And it made me nervous that they didn't believe in their product.
Me too, that they dumped it like that. Because that's at least, whether that's the intention or not, that's the impression that people get now when you do that. Yep. And it sucks because the Gentleman was the same thing. They dumped all, I think that was 8 episodes as well. And it's just like there's 2 ways that I think typically are like work the best. They do the 2 episode and then 1 by 1, or like Arcane did and they did 3, 3, and 3. I think.
Yes.
I kind of like that too, where it's like you're giving it about 3 weeks. Of course, you've got lots of stuff that you're trying to get out, so you can't just like, string this along a week at a time. But I don't know, man. I wonder if we'll see that change at some point where they'll go back to just doing a week at a time. Because I would prefer that, especially the stuff. That way we can talk about individual episodes and we get to kind of theorize and talk more about what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, if you're into Fallout, it's probably worth a watch. If you want something decent and you're tired of all of the like sludge, like this is probably pretty good. And I think there are some genuinely good things in it. And of course,
Good
some
laughable
bad
moments
stuff
as well.
Yeah, it's got a decent sense of humor. Doesn't always land, but there's there's some stuff in it that I like legitimately was chuckling at. Which is kind of what you want with this. Like, it's not supposed to be I don't think like a laugh out loud comedy type deal. It's, you know,
Right. Supposed to be more of a.
ooh. Zach says he's got a theory about the Fallout dump. And he says I'll drop it on Wednesday. I'm
Ooh.
curious. You got me intrigued.
Ooh.
Well,
Now we're ready.
why don't we go ahead and talk about Shogun,
Episode 8.
episode 8. I don't have the title in front of me. Do you remember?
So
I'll look it up.
you stated earlier
Yes.
that episode 8 for you probably isn't your favorite so far. That's actually how I felt, not with episode 7, but I think episode 6. I want to say there was one of them.
Let's see.
It wasn't 7. It would have been either 5 or 6. I'd have to go back and check. Let me just pull it up.
Let me say this about this episode though, and this is something
Yep.
that I think is true across the whole season. This show really it does so well with these key moments. The acting is on point. Like there's like power, and I don't know how much we want to spoil this episode.
Yeah, no, we can go ahead and say spoilers. Spoilers from here on out. So if you haven't seen episode 8 of Shogun, go back and watch it. The new episode comes out tonight at 11.
Man, I'll
But
be
that's
watching that
episode 9.
tomorrow.
So it was episode 6, by the way. That was like,
was that the one with the
it was a lot of
courtesans?
setup.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the one with the courtesans
Is
and everything.
that also the episode with the earthquake?
Ooh, I think that's episode 5.
Okay.
I think that's episode 5.
And I'll say this: like the episodes, each episode, whether it's a little more like jam packed with a lot of stuff going on, or it's more of there's a lot more setup with certain things. There's these powerful moments in like every episode that just hit home, and there's such great character moments, and like the stuff that happens in the last like 15 or so minutes of this episode is so good. It's so good. Just like like they just like building up to it the whole time, and then you're like, because I'm thinking to myself like, all right, this episode's all right. Like I still enjoy seeing the back and forth with the characters, and everyone is in like different emotional states, and we don't really know where certain characters stand at this point, and it's like we had talked about in the previous episode. Is it like it's the three identity,
three secret hearts?
Yeah, and that like that hidden heart, and it was like, bro, is it actually that, or is he giving up? Like what?
Yeah.
What's really going on here?
They did a good job of balancing that and thinking.
And it's like not to the very last minute, and you're like, oh man, like it.
It is
just
gut wrenching, pun intended.
Like just so. Hold on a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My computer did something funky, but I think it's all right. I think we're good.
But man, the acting is just so superb in the show, and it brings home everything.
Yeah,
in just a cathartic way, and it's just emotionally gripping. I've connected with it. It sucked me in, and I'm escaping into the world, and I'm not concerned about anything else. I'm just enjoying it. And I enjoyed in this episode how it was that duality or dichotomy, I should say, between fate and loyalty, and at what point, like, is asked at the end of the episode, is loyalty gone too far? And I enjoy how it's, what's her name? Let me pull it up real fast.
Is it Miriko?
Oh, is that her name?
Or are we? Oh, are we talking about the courtesan?
Yeah, the courtesan and
I can't remember
how
what her name
her
is.
lover, what's his name?
Um,
It's Yushubi uh,
is it
Yabushiki
Omi?
is, I think it is Omi.
I was just looking at some of their pictures. Um,
Yes, Omi. How he says to her uh, about her lady, oh, it must, bother you that she's, you've done all this work and yet she's reaping all the rewards. And she responds and says, no, I'm happy to have, done everything I've done for her. I owe her a lot, something of that nature. I don't remember everything verbatim, but
yeah.
then she says, then he asks, um, you know, basically the extent is how far is too far for someone that you love,
Yeah, someone
how
some
far is showing too much loyalty.
too much loyalty. Exactly. Yeah.
And she says, if you can't see it, you just need to look harder. And it just, man, that line at the end, I was like, yes, you do.
Man, and it's dude. What's crazy about it is, and I wonder. It's weird. I don't know if like the mainstream has been ignoring this show. I would think a lot of people would be really uncomfortable with some of the subject material in this, um, because you want to talk about having sort of like a consistent ideology, like through and through, whether you agree with it or not. That's like this
Hmm.
That's this culture, like
Yes, it is.
down
But
to death. It's so wild to think about.
and on that note, I love what Mariko said in a previous episode to Blackthorn, when she says, if he says that you're a prisoner in your country and your culture by these traditions, and she said, if all you live for is liberty, you'll never be able to escape yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, ooh.
And that's one of the things that's so strong about the show. Uh,
Like you get both viewpoints. Like in a sense, she's talking about if you're only living for your liberty, you can definitely end up to a point that's selfish. But he's also right in
oh,
saying, talking about her being a prisoner as well. At least how I interpreted and took it.
I had forgot. Zach's made a really good point. He said, "Where's Fuji? She's not an A. The show doesn't seem to do anything by accident," which I agree with. I don't think anything that happens in the show is by accident. It mess. Okay. Let me talk about this Fuji point first, and then the whole like it doesn't do anything, or like the kind of loyalty concept, that like theme in this episode. But the
Hmm.
Fuji thing's interesting because there's one line where I think it's Miriko's like, "Oh, she's back taking care of the house." Um, but she is an interesting character because she's shown loyalty towards Blackthorn, but she's also been someone who has shown that she's stronger than I think maybe she's given credit for.
Yes.
Like she's defended Blackthorn with his own guns. Like there's some stuff in there with her that I think he's right. It's going to be interesting to see if that plays out.
Do,
The loyalty thing too is really interesting in this episode because I feel like I wavered watching this episode some too. Was like with like,
yes.
where is he? What's he
With
doing?
Toranaga.
Yeah, like
Yes.
why is he just giving up? Like
My
I'm
loyalty's
I
going
know
away from you.
I'm wanting to be like, yeah, like oh man, like I'm with. Oh, okay, no, it's got to be a trick. It's got to be a trick. And like I said, it's not to not even the last 15 minutes, but everything that happens in that last 15 minutes, and then it's at the very end where Toranaga, we're only getting to see it as the audience as far as I remember. I don't think he's revealed anything to anyone else yet, at least that we know of. But he's at his son's grave, essentially, like at the ashes, and he's like, "Thank you for giving me this time. Thank you to both of you for giving me this
Yes.
extra time." And you're like, "Bro, oh, dude,
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
mm,
That's what I was wondering there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, or give me your thoughts on the situation. With
yeah."
him saying that, do you think he knew his son did that intentionally? That hey, like even if I get killed, it will buy
No, I'm
my
gonna
father some time? Do
for
you think like
no. I think this is what I'm gonna. This is where I think I stand on this for now. For now, and who second viewings, maybe we'll get some more information. I think Toranaga didn't see a way out, and I think unfortunately his son's passing was a thing that, because it was like, it's like how many? It's like 29 days, right? Was it
49.
49?
49.
Which is crazy amount of time.
No,
Um,
truly it makes sense. I was talking about this with someone recently, how it's crazy that a lot of places, when you lose a close family member, only
oh,
give you 3 days
they're like,
of bereavement.
yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think it's it's our perspective, right? Where it's like, holy moly, like 49 days. But again, it's their culture, right? That
Yes.
honor, that respect, and
Well, when you lose someone close, you're like, yeah, 49 days actually makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. I mean,
and
like,
the way that everyone treats him, despite how stupid and rash it was. They're all like remembering
yes.
the good things about him, and the closest we get is, I forgot his name, the older gentleman,
Oh,
Horomatsu.
yeah,
He
yeah.
basically is like, yes, but he was also very like brash. He didn't think things through. But at the same time, it wasn't necessarily in a way that he wasn't like, this kid was so stupid. I can't believe he tried to do that. Yada yada yada. It was, there was still respect in everything that they were doing, because again, that's their culture. And I really appreciate it. There's aspects of getting to see that culture play out on screen where I'm like, dang man, people could be a little more respectful.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you
love
mean, dude.
just love that. But yeah, I don't think that was planned. I don't think he had, he was probably working through some of what he had the potential to do, but there's no, I mean, it might actually be bad if it was like, oh, his son's death was planned somehow.
Well, I don't mean planned. I just mean like if his son actually thought, well, hey, if I kill my uncle, that will buy my father some time, and then hopefully, right? And then if I get killed,
No, I don't think
that will buy
he's.
my father
I
some
think you're.
time.
I think you're giving his son too much credit.
Too much credit?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think he's that forward thinking with stuff. That's his entire character, right? Like that being the case, and we would have had to. He would have had to have some sort of minor character development there, where he's like, I have been so childish in the way that I'm thinking, and I haven't been able to live up to the standard for my father. Like I wanna do something that helps him. Like if we had something like that, maybe I would believe it. But at this point, I think he just, again, he was really prideful.
Well, I'm gonna use my head knowledge, and that's what I'm gonna go with.
But I think that goes against his character.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense that he was just headstrong and did that because, like everything else that he had done in the show, just couldn't listen to his father's advice, couldn't understand why his father was correct in the things that he was doing, and that was
Couldn't be
ultimately his
strategic.
downfall. Yeah, I think man, honestly, it just almost takes away from the tragedy of that and who that character is. I mean, I know it's like we'd love for there to be some sort of redemption there, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I think
And
it really
sometimes
is
it's good
that.
to not have that redemption there.
Yeah,
You get this soak in the reality, like, hey, sometimes if you don't consider uh, the cost, right?
yeah,
The cost something will take away from you, and think things through, and be strategic, and understand things from a certain perspective, and listen to your parents and honor them, and people who are wiser than you, and heed counsel, and not be brash and not be arrogant.
yep.
Then it could lead to an
Arrogance was the word.
untimely death.
Yeah, and I think that is who he's characterized as. And without some sort of on-screen change of heart, it seems a little silly to me that would be the explanation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, dude. I think,
and
man, that
it
last
worked
episode
out,
was
and
so
it
good.
sucks, man, because it's like, to a degree, you have to wonder, and I don't know if we'll ever really get to see it from Tornaga's perspective, but you have it's one of those moments where it's like Tornaga now is in a position of, well, I've been given time, and he's calculating out what needs to be done, and then when Hiramatsu commits seppuku at the end of the episode, and you find out like, listen, I had to go. It had to be believable to not only to everyone that I'm at the end. That it's
Right.
that it's hopeless, because they have to think that I've got no strength left in any of this, and that he has a plan moving forward, and that it's like, that he's basically trying to play this game, right? And he is much better at it than anyone is giving him credit for. That that loyalty, like everyone who is loyal to him, is either going to follow him into that, or they're going to basically die with what they, seppuku is, that's a whole other conversation, but like in their minds, like they're dying with honor, because like they just cannot live with the reality of what's happening. And it's like,
And it's their way to have some kind of control over death.
exactly. And asking his son to be his second, and like the whole deal, like all of that. There's so much of that plays into the show, and why I think the show is so good. Like,
Oh,
it's
especially
just,
that scene,
oh man,
like the scene of the tradition of Mariko and Buntaro
yeah, with the
with
chai tea.
the tea
Mm-hmm.
and everything, and how he is saying, "I remember our early days of marriage fondly," and she's basically like, "I don't have that same
She's so
memory."
cold, dude. She's so cold.
So she is
Just,
so cold to
ooh,
him, and their acting just brings it together. Her
yep.
coldness and his sorrow over the state of their marriage, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to feel bad for him due to the abuse, right?
And I think the thing that you're supposed to come away with there is that neither of them are really the good guys in that situation.
Yes.
That it's like, it's from both angles. Like, she was so cold to him because of her circumstances, and that because of that, he essentially started feeding into that, and it made for, for lack of a better word, like a very toxic relationship for the two of
Yeah.
them. That
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going to go with it. And I
Yeah.
think, and their performances just bring it home, man. That
Mhm.
scene was just so meaningful to to watch and
Yeah.
to behold, and just like
And
A
it's just,
plus
dude,
acting.
it's just actors acting in a room. Like, this is what we talk. Like, we talk about this a lot, where it's like, it can be done. The dialogue between actors being in a room together. It's hey, it done
Over tea.
yeah. It's a T done properly. What am I saying? When this stuff is done properly, like it was kind of a thing with us when we were still reviewing season 2 of Halo, and I was kind of trying to drive the point home that it's like the political elements, the stuff that is happening in Halo. If the source material was being respected, if they were drawing from that, if the writing team could actually write good dramatic moments that make sense for everything that's going on around them, the acting, and of course you do need good actors, but some of the people in this are relative, at least to us, like they're relatively unknown, and it is on point all the time. The facial expressions, the things that are said without anything being said, it's possible to do. But you have to have the right people at the helm to essentially make it work. And obviously,
Yep.
Halo didn't across the board. They just
No,
they had nothing. And part of it is on them, because there's arrogance there, and there's a lot of arrogance in Hollywood towards this stuff, where it's like, we know better, right? We're the ones in charge. We know better. Like, you guys don't know better. But you have a lot of people who were like crazy invested in Halo, and they can sit there and be like, well, you should have done this. It should have been like this. Why is this out of order? Why? Like Fringy, who's on EFAP. He knows
Yeah.
a lot of that Halo lore, and he was sitting there just like ringing stuff off, and it's like, dang, it's like they really didn't do any of that. Like, it's insane. And he's like, this is out of order. Like, they haven't done this, therefore this can't even happen. And it was like, yeah, like you guys just don't care, and that's the. I can't remember when we talked about it. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago, but Shogun. Oh, maybe it was last week. I don't remember. But I had talked about how Shogun, in a lot of ways, reminds me of the care and attention that was given to Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
That there's just this obvious on screen, like, you can just see that everyone involved in this wanted this to be as good as it could possibly be. That they are pouring their heart and soul into the cinematography, into the acting, into the writing, into the directing, into just every, like, the costumes.
Very intentional.
They're very intentional with what they're doing, and it's like down to, dude, allowing a large majority of this to be in Japanese with subtitles.
Yes.
Like, all of that stuff that they're doing, it's just wonderful to see. Like, I think, and again, got to get through 2 more episodes, right?
Right.
I'm very, very happy with it. I don't think they're going to drop the ball, at the end. I'm just really hoping that it's as solid all the way through, because it's just one of those things that, like, just like -1, like, I want a physical copy of this. Like, I want this to be something that I'm like, you need to watch Shogun. I'm like, it's 10 episodes. You'll be done with it, and depending on how fast you go through it, like, it won't take you long. You need to watch Shogun. Like, it's gonna be, I think, one of those shows, and it's really nice to have that. Like, this year is crazy to me because House of the Dragon, and for me, Arcane are the other 2 big shows that I'm really curious. Like, Shogun is up there, right? I think for me right now, is there only really the 2 that I would consider for best show right now are Gentlemen and Shogun. I think that's been pretty obvious because I haven't been able to stop talking about them since they aired. But
you really make me want to watch
Yeah.
Gentlemen even more. I haven't had a chance to yet.
Shogun is probably beating out Gentlemen. Some of that is a personal thing, because the time period, like, I love, like, Japanese culture has always been something I've been really interested in. And this has been something I've been itching for more than what The Gentleman is, this very, like, drama heavy, actor heavy, dialogue heavy, like, all of the stuff where it's like, I really like watching actors in rooms acting and putting their heart and soul into it, and everything that's going on with the show leading into that. I've talked in the past about, like, Marriage Story. I like that movie a lot. I know there's people who don't like it, but I like that movie a lot. I love Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver just, like, acting in a room together and being angry with each other, and it all being about this thing, and, like, there's all the emotion and those dramatic moments that are happening. Yeah, and we don't get that very often, and that's the stuff that I kind of crave. Again, more than like Godzilla Cross Kong, like.
Yeah. Well, and what you're talking about is people standing in a room talking, but it's interesting dialogue.
Yeah, it's coming from a place of, like, the show is good,
Yeah. And you're able to craft drama and tension and stakes just with dialogue, because the setup has been shown since episode 1.
Yeah.
That your words will take things in a complete direction that could lead to your death happening right then.
Yep. And, man, I can't wait to go back and watch
And
this.
so there's meaning behind everything. And in fact, Mariko says that to John when he got the gardener killed. Well, again, not him, but, like, when she said, your words gave it meaning. When you said not to touch the pheasant or you'll die.
Yeah. That it brought it to life in a way that he didn't understand the actions of what he was doing.
Yep.
For him, it's, his words were something that's like, oh, whatever, like, I don't really mean this, because that's a culture that he comes from. But for them, it's like, no, you are in charge. You said that. That's the penalty for that. And, like, he would, and it's crazy because I guess the gardener was sick or something like that, is right. And they're like, someone basically had to fall on the sword to get rid of that thing, and so the gardener decided he would be the one to do it. Yeah, that's the stuff, dude. That episode in particular, like, that's a really striking moment from that, and that's what I was talking about. Is like, there's all this stuff's happening, but, man, these really powerful moments that just add so much to the show that are overlooked in a lot of the other stuff that we're always like, this is piss, like, this isn't good, or whatever the case may be. It's like, when something like Shogun comes along, and again, it's like we said, like, there's probably some stuff in this where, like, maybe this doesn't, like, second viewing is like, I don't know how I feel about this, or maybe, and you can kind of get into the granular of maybe some stuff doesn't work quite as well. But everything in this is so solid that it's like, okay, it's not a big deal. It's like when people talk about these little things in Lord of the Rings, or they're trying to be like, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy is not as good as you remember. It's like, you're wrong, and like these little things you're talking about don't change that for me.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, how about the scene in episode 8, or that moment where the courtesans get that plot of land, and then it shows the
Yeah.
priest getting the plot of
Dude,
land.
so good. And again, everything's intentional.
Yeah.
And it's like Toranaga's so like it's almost like a wicked sense of humor where
Yeah.
he's like, sure, I'm gonna give you this plot of land, but
And it's prime.
it
It's
is
prime
it's
plot. It's
prime.
good plot.
Yep. You and the courtesans understand that, so it's I think that's really good. His face too. And again, it's great acting because it's like his face tells you everything. You don't need him to be like to explain to you why he's upset in this moment. You understand. Like, if you've been paying
You see
attention,
it right
you
on his
understand.
face.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's so good.
It's good. It's really good. I'm not sure if I've got anything else to really say about the episode. Like I said, it's a lot of setup. Marriage proposal to I can't remember what they call her.
Sheba.
She was like the what she was to the previous ruler.
She was a concubine to him.
Yeah, she was like the best girl, like
Yeah.
best concubine. I can't. There's a term. I just don't remember what it was. I'll say we talked about the chai tea stuff. That was good. Oh, Blackthorn finally meets back up with his men, and
Oh, yeah.
it's like they really don't want anything to do with him anymore.
Well, he doesn't want anything to do with them either.
But I mean,
Because he's kind of like he's in that situation of he doesn't know where he belongs because he doesn't really, especially when he goes back and it's literally like the stench of his men filling up that area.
yeah,
And he's like, I don't really belong in Japanese culture or that culture there, but he's starting to like it more. But then I also don't, belong with my men either. It's where do I fit in? And then I think it plays
Right.
into his character and makes it a bit more human and real to dig into that. And then that's also why it leads him to back to Yabushigi,
Yeah.
because he's like, well, Tornaga's giving up, and at least I can fly under your banner.
Right. And again, Toranaga knew that, I think he was like, the two of them are so obvious that he's like,
Yeah.
I can just, he's basically able to manipulate them no problem. And obviously Mariko going with them at the end is the clear sign of like, okay, he's got plans. He's got some stuff in the works that he's trying to figure out. Yeah, I thought that stuff was all really good. And I like Blackthorn. Honestly, I think some of my favorite scenes are when Blackthorn and Mariko are doing the translation stuff with other people. I love that. Like, it just
Dude,
the way
chemistry
Mhm.
between characters in this show is so well done because their dynamic is great. Blackthorn, I really love it when Blackthorn and Yabushigi
Yeah.
get together.
Yeah, they're
And I
great.
mean, their dynamic is great together.
Spin-off, please.
Yes. The adventures of John Blackthorn and Yabushigi.
Yep, that'd be great. Yeah, you're right. It's always good. Yabushige. It's so funny, man, because like I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about him at first, but he's definitely one of the best characters in the show.
I just love how he was trying to be such a weasel.
Yep. He just can't get out of it.
And he can't get out of it. And he's like, Craig, you just see, he's like, oh, despite all my efforts, I'm really going to die like this.
Oh, man. It's so good, dude. Oh, my gosh. I like this show a lot.
The character, and this is what I mean. It's like, even if the narrative wasn't that amazing, the character work in this is so great. The character writing, the acting, and and even on the technical side of this isn't there's great shots, don't get me wrong. It's not like this is on the technical side, like at least when it comes to the CGI and stuff, like it's just bad. There are definitely some shots that are questionable.
It's television,
but
yeah.
but I'm forgiving of that when the narrative and
And
especially the character
it's
writing and acting
so
is so amazing.
and so much of it's consistent. Like, yeah, there's like it's a lot of those like establishing shots that
Yeah.
they're basically putting in backdrops. Um, it's like the sets are in the front and then the backdrop to make it appear to be like certain parts of Japan.
Right.
They're definitely a little obvious, but I don't mind, honestly, dude. I mean, like
No.
we get so much trash all the time that like them like the budget not being there necessarily for that doesn't bother me. And that's why
No.
honestly though I want like a 4K hard copy of this cuz I want to like, you know, I want to see everything. Like I want to be like, "Oh, actually yeah, maybe that doesn't look quite as good there." Or whatever. I just ready for that. He calls Toranaga calls Yabushigi and Blackthorn Goshawks because I'm short-winged and predictable. I was just kind of clicking through this trying to see if there was anything.
Yeah, that's so good, dude. I
Uh,
can't wait for that episode tonight.
oh, dude,
I
I'll
may
have to
stay
watch
up and watch
tomorrow.
it. Yeah, I
Um,
probably should.
and
Probably
then
shouldn't stay up since I gotta be up for work, but
oh, that's pretty much it. Yeah. He goes and visits his son's grave, and he's like, he's very. It's like even in death, and even like with the loss of basically his best friend and his son, and the idea for him, he's like, listen, because I'm obviously his son didn't realize it, and I assume where is he? Uh, I'm so bad with the names in the shows.
Omi.
Horomatsu, like he probably
Oh yeah.
didn't know either. But it's like they basically sacrificed so that he could potentially win this whole thing,
Yeah.
And he's like,
And that's where
I won't waste it.
Toranaga says at the end that Hiramatsu fulfilled his duty to me.
Yep.
Mm.
Man, I mean, I like,
Gripping.
and the the look on Toranaga's face, like this is what I'm talking about with those like extra details that maybe you're not always picking up on a first viewing. Because I'm like sitting here just kind of watching this, like the look on his face, like he's obviously he's speaking in this too, but there's so much emotion going on there. Dude, there's more there than I've seen in so many of the shows that we've watched. Um, this year, last year, especially last year, holy moly! But like, and I maybe this rounds it out a little bit, but like because we were talking about Millie Bobby Brown at the beginning, it's like, hey, Millie, maybe you need to like watch this and be like, this is good acting. This is what like top tier acting looks like. The ability to show the kind of emotion on your face, and even if you're speaking in a way that is very like I guess I don't know. He's very reserved here, but you can
Dude,
see
that's
he's holding it all in, right?
and to me, I feel like if as an actor, and I'm not a professional, so if you're a professional actor, feel free to tell me. But I would imagine doing the extremes of emotion, like being really sad or really happy, is easy to do. Whereas having to be reserved, like
Yeah,
your emotions are bubbling, but you're trying to keep them under control. But you have to let them, just boil over the surface, but then bring it back in.
yeah.
I imagine that's the hardest
He is. It's.
part of acting to do.
I would call this scene at the end, like if we were like kind of relating it to the rest of the show, it's like his hidden heart is like showing slightly. He's alone.
Mm,
And it's also probably why he didn't show up to his. You know how like they were like, why isn't Toranaga here for his son's funeral? He didn't go
yeah.
to it earlier in the show, and it goes back to that idea of that hidden heart, that it's like he has to keep certain things hidden, and even in this moment when he's by himself, he's not fully breaking down. You
Yep.
can see it, and that he wants to, but it's like that strength of like, I have to remain the leader. Like it's like it's not the time to even be in that. Like he has to continue hiding that from the world and the way that he feels in the situation. It's so good, dude. It's so good.
So
Oh my
competent and
gosh.
mature, man. They don't spoon feed you.
I know. I just want more of this. I want more of this. I don't know why it's so hard to just golly. Halo
And it
could have
makes
done
me
it, dude.
happy.
Huh?
They could have. It
They
makes me
could have.
happy and sad that they're only having one season. Like I'm glad,
I
but
am too. I don't want more. I want a it's like was technically Mexican telling us this, or were you telling me this last week, that it's like the book that it's based on, it has the end, it has like a final, like that's it, and then they were like, we're not doing more than that. And I respect that so much.
yeah, it
And
was me.
okay, and then like there are other books that have been written by the same guy that they're planning on adapting.
Yes.
And I'm like, please do. If you get 2/3 as good as this season, like as Shogun is, like, just please give us more. Like
Please.
get it. Yes, I'm here for it. Like let's keep going. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, man.
I don't have
That's
anything else
pretty
to
much
say,
it
man.
for me.
I know I don't have
Yeah.
anything else to say. Shogun is excellent. It's excellent. It's gonna be a massive contender this year for best television show. Um, so early in the
Dude.
year, it's crazy, man.
Man, we got House of Dragon. But I
Hmm.
don't really, as far as TV shows, there's really not
Like I said,
anything else.
Arcane's the only other one, and
Oh yes, yeah, Arcane.
you never know, man. I mean, there might
Star Wars: The Acolyte.
maybe something else is gonna come out. It's gonna be like, whoa, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's gonna be bad. You know it's gonna be bad. It's not even a question of if anymore. It will be bad.
It's just a
It
question
will be
of how
garbage.
bad.
Yeah, it will be more sludge to add to the pile of Star Wars sludge. And you can throw that new
Disney
video
just
game.
killing their brand.
Yeah, you can throw that new video game that's coming out this year on that pile too. At this point,
Oh, Outlaws.
Outlaws. Yeah, with the Matt Damon looking character. Did you see that meme that I put in the Discord? That I saw. I can't. Maybe Gundam posted that on Twitter or whatever. It was so funny because I was like, that is 100% what that is.
Yes.
Ugh, dude.
Oh man.
They
They don't know what they're doing,
It's
do
really
they?
so. I would say this right now too, just on that real quickly, is that I think that our new they keep race swapping characters thing is why does everyone keep making women in video games ugly? That's the next one that's coming. Now
Well,
that one's
art imitates real life.
yeah, uh, that yeah. I mean,
Doesn't it? Ding.
man, yeah. I'll say this: there are a lot of people who work in the gaming industry that have very ugly hearts right now.
Yeah.
They're not kind people.
I think that's a accurate way to put it, is that it's just reflecting, art imitates real life in the sense of reflecting the heart.
Yeah, and there's some debate there a little bit when the Dead Space remake came out. Everyone was like upset because they quote unquote ugified the women in that. It's not really true. They aged one of the women up appropriately, and then one of the other women in the game looks great. So I don't know like what the real complaint was. It was weird, man. So it's like that stuff. Obviously, that's where like I think, and you and I think try to do this as much as we can. Like just take a step back every once in a while, and it'd be like, are we getting too internet brained?
Yeah.
Like I have to.
I had
I've
to do
been
that
thinking.
recently, actually.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot. That it's like okay, like I think, just take a step back, remember what all of this is, and that we still have to put our pants on in the morning and go to work.
Yeah, for me, it's like take a step back, remember the Lord.
Yeah.
Remember the Lord.
Yes.
And just internet isn't real life.
Bro, we need a
It's curated to you. Go ahead.
yeah, we need uh a clip that like we can title it "Remember the Lord," some sort of like soundbite.
Yes.
That's like we got to figure out what it would be, but I that's really funny. We just play it every once in a while when it's like things are getting a little too like heated on something that's like all right we can
It's not that big a deal. Because I definitely gotten too heated on stuff, and
bro
and so you gotta take that break and just
brother
remember the Lord.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, we don't really have to get into it, but like you've seen all that stuff going on with Aubin, not Aubin preach, but they've been with fresh,
To-
yeah, with
they've been
Fed and
toasting Fed and
yep,
fraud.
bruh, uh,
I remember the first time we came across them, and it's like they were on Tim Pool's stuff, his
yeah,
channel at the time.
yeah.
And it's like
He
they
had
say
him, had him on. I wonder if Tim ever regrets that.
yeah, and I can't remember if I watched the whole episode or not. I wonder that too. Um, and but I remember like, yeah, there's some good things like however long I watched them that they said that were true and stuff. And then I went to go listen to them, and they're kind of like the first video. So I was like, oh,
Oh no,
these guys are whack.
Yeah, because I remember some clips that people were when they were on Tim Pool, and that's the problem, man. Is it's like when we talk kind of about like the internet being like too internet brained, where it's like someone says the right thing and you're like, oh dang, these guys are super based, and then it's like, maybe take a step back. Let's see who they really are,
Yeah,
because after a while, like if you're on the internet for a while, and like to be honest, if you're not kind of consistent or you're putting on a show for people, like it starts to show.
yeah. I'm gonna post a clip on TikTok and the socials this week of us talking about Alan Richardson and me saying good for him for going out against Trump
Right.
just to make everyone cry.
He's entitled to that. Welcome to America, folks.
Oh my gosh, he came out
Oh,
against Trump.
yeah, it's like, come on now.
Oh no, I can't watch The Reacher anymore.
Yeah. Just like, all right. Anyway, so gotta go. I gotta go to
man.
work. I gotta go make some money.
All right.
Oh man. Well, Joseph, this has been excellent. Thank you for everyone who showed up in the troll room on our live stream. Thank you to everyone who is still downloading this podcast regularly. Y'all are the unsung heroes of our content of this podcast. We're very thankful for all of you, everybody who
Yes, we are.
who makes it to wherever you can see it. I know like people come, they go. Some people come back. Sometimes we just lose people. But we are really thankful for all of you. We're thankful for all of the conversations, and when you all ask us questions, or when you disagree with us on something, which is fine. John Wick 4 is still not a good movie, but we are really thankful for all of you and the discussion.
You can email him at.
Yeah, you can email me. It's fine. You're wrong. So that's all I'll send you back. It's like, nah, you're wrong.
I thought I was going to get some hate mail for saying that Skyrim. I don't like it. That's not that good of a game.
That's fine. I think opinions on that have changed some, over the years. It was like a phenomenon when it came out, and then they just milked it into the ground,
Yeah.
And then they came out with a really lackluster follow-up with like Starfield is not a good game. It's clear, and that's another one, dude. That a lot of not only the like uglifying of women in games, but a lot of this like reverence that people used to have for certain game studios, like a lot of that's going away too, because people are just like, no, you're wrong. Like it's like the kill the Justice League thing.
Oh yeah, Sweet Baby Stink.
Yeah, like let's be clear on this. Like that game sucked. Sweet Baby Inc. or no, right? Like that game was bad. And we're getting to a point now where it's like that debate was very much won by the side of no, that game sucks. It will disappear into oblivion, and no one will defend it ever again. Unlike The Last of Us 2, which and The Last Jedi, like I think I'll have to have those conversations until the end of time. At this point, it's like no, it's bad.
Hey, we should, once season 2 of Rings of Power comes out.
Yeah,
we should invite Know Better, Do Better. What was his name? Do Better, Do Better.
No Better. Is it No Better? I don't Do Better. I think I just called him Do Better. I don't. He might still be making content, man. I don't know.
Yeah, he probably is. I got the block button on our underground account.
Yeah. Is he? Are we still blocked by him?
I have to go and check. Last time I checked, we were. I'm like, man, there's no hard feelings, dude. Like, we're glad you got your bag to Amazon. We never came out against you. It's just how all that transpired and went down was weird. I'm like, I don't want him to think there's any beef with us with him and vice versa.
Bro, I don't.
Like, it's not that big a deal for us.
Is it New Better, Do Better?
I think it was a New Better, Do Better.
K
But
N E W.
I think it may be with an A, like
Oh, I
New
found him.
Beta.
I found
Do
him.
Beta.
I found him. I found him. Let's see. Uh,
Good friend of the show, by the way.
Let's see.
I'm pulling up our TikTok right now.
I mean, he's still going.
And by the way, guys, let me just interject here real fast, David, and say, ever since the family emergency back in March,
yeah,
I know things were, early in the year, more content was coming out and stuff like that. But more content's about to start coming out more. It's just been a long past couple of months. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everybody's understanding. Yeah, we're trying to get back into the swing of things after that, and I'm gonna try to make sure that we've got content coming out a little more regularly. Because I know not everybody wants to listen to us for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever, and so we've got shorts, and I think I'll be splitting some of this stuff up into smaller segments occasionally. But man, I like what we're doing. It's slow grind upwards again from where we're at, but I think we're gonna get there, and I think it's just a matter of time, and being consistent. And like I said, thank you all, and we don't ever need to be a massive channel. We want the value for value system to take off, and that be a majority of how we're seeing growth. I think more so than just the numbers on YouTube, because that stuff. It's like super inconsistent. I know it's been down for everybody recently too, and I know that like TikTok's kind of been the same. And I don't know, this whole like ban thing. Like we're not even going to get into that, but yeah, we're thankful for everybody when they show up.
Did he is his account the one that's at 100,000 or more?
Yeah, he's like 128. He's like 100. It hasn't been growing since that. You can look at his stuff, dude. I mean, like it's pretty stagnant at this point. So
okay, I haven't.
I don't know if people.
We're still blocked,
bruh. I don't know if people have figured out that he was kind of but he's still doing his thing. He's still grinding on TikTok every day. It looks like. So I mean, listen, if he ever wants to come on, he wants to actually, talk about that stuff. Like it's open invite. Like, dude, I'm at the point now. I don't know what happened at the beginning of this year, but I definitely am at the point now, where I'm like, as long as it's like, polite, like I'll have people on whether they disagree with us or not. Like, I don't care. That's something that changed, because for a while I was like, man, I just don't want to have people on, and then it becomes this like massive like shouting match, or like, you know what I mean? Like that's not what we're doing. Like I got way too much going on to be dealing with that kind of drama.
Man, we ain't gonna yell and fight.
Yeah. It's like here it is. Let me lay this out for you. Like why do you disagree? Like I'm not trying. It was like that drama with him before, where it was like, dude, we're not trying to debate lore with you. Like, we think the show sucks. Like, it's like we've been saying this whole time. It's like, lore or no lore, it's not good.
Yes.
The lore just makes it worse. Like the fact that Tolkien's lore exists makes that show even worse.
Yes.
In the same way that like the Halo show sucks, the fact that Halo lore exists makes it worse. And I don't know why that concept doesn't always get across to people. I mean, The Witcher was the same way.
Yep.
That's it. I don't know what else I have to say there.
Yeah.
So, all right, y'all. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you again, Joseph. You got anything else you want to add?
No, y'all just take it easy.
All right, and until next time, y'all.
Oh wait, I do. Hey.
Yes.
We're going to be on Zax's live stream this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. So
talking new
see
Shogun.
you there.
Looks like we'll probably get to talk about Fallout a little bit too. So you get on that grind, Joseph. You don't have to finish it for a show, but get on that grind, boy.
Yeah.
It's really not like, it's not miserable. You're not going to be miserable. You just, all right. Until next time, y'all. Take it easy.
See ya.